Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Sarah Stephan with Aligned and Alive. Today we're going to be talking about vitamin D. Some simple things you need to know about vitamin D. What it does for your health, how to get more of it, if you need more of it, all of that. And as I'm walking today, not maybe the best day for talking about vitamin D, considering vitamin D is considered the sunshine vitamin. We're not going to get any vitamin D today, but we're going to learn about it. So I think vitamin D is one of those things that most people really can benefit from taking on a regular basis. And you might be thinking, well, why is it important? Well, I'm going to tell you. So vitamin D is important in our body for a number of things. First of all, it's considered a vitamin. It's considered a fat-soluble vitamin, which means you can get too much of it. So this is advice I'm giving you, but obviously you need to be talking to your own provider if there is a concern or if you're not sure quite what to do. But most people are not going to overdose or get too much vitamin D. Most of us are very deficient in vitamin D. So vitamin D is imperative in our body for a number of things. One, it's really good for our immune function, right? So if we want to keep our immune function high, we need a nice level of vitamin D in our body. It's really good for our bone health, right? Bones and teeth. Vitamin D plays a critical role in pulling calcium and phosphorus into the bone. So we need enough vitamin D so we can keep our bones and teeth strong. That's why vitamin D levels are indicative, or if you're looking at your vitamin D levels, you can hopefully help prevent some osteoporosis or osteopenia by making sure that it's higher. It's also really good to decrease inflammation in the body over the long term, not short term, but long term. If we can have our vitamin D levels higher, we can have lower inflammation, and is also going to help us fight off different diseases, right? Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, some other autoimmune things, autoimmune diseases and disorders. So vitamin D is really critical in our body. Now, we can get it from the sun. That's why it's called the sunshine vitamin. Right? So if we're outside and major body parts, not just our face or our hands or our feet, but if major body parts are exposed to sun for 20 to 30 minutes on a regular basis, we can get sufficient amounts of vitamin D. So if you're one of those people who's outside and you don't wear sunscreen, you don't wear protective sun clothing, and you're getting a regular amount of sun, your vitamin D levels might be pretty good. So many of you fishermen that are listening to me out here, you might be better than the average. I'm not going to say perfect. The only way you're going to know is by testing. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But you can get it from the sun. Most of us just don't have the ability to get that on a regular basis, on a year-round basis. Especially where I live in the north, anywhere between September and April, even if we're outside in bright sunlight, the way the sun hits the horizon, we can't convert that in our body to vitamin D. So what does that mean? That means most of us are deficient and we need to be taking supplements to be able to keep our levels high enough. You can get vitamin D from some foods, but most of the people can't get enough vitamin D from food and sunlight alone to keep our levels sufficient. Now, the only way you're going to know if you are sufficient or deficient in vitamin D is by testing your blood. Right? This is a pretty simple test. You can buy them. They're also pretty cheap. This is one thing that drives me crazy about the medical establishment is that they wanted to charge me $250 just to have my vitamin D tested. And I know it's $40. Like I sell tests in my office for $40. It is a little finger prick. So you send in a little bit of blood and you find out what your vitamin D levels are. Now, the medical establishment will tell you that anywhere between 30 and 60, could be healthy. I would counter that by saying 30 is not high enough. You want to be in minimally the 40s, but more likely 50s and 60s, right? That's a sweet spot. Even 80s can be okay or can be good, but most people are not that at all. If you get your levels tested and you're at in the teens and you're wondering, why am I sick all the time? Or why do my joints hurt? Or why do I have no energy? Vitamin D really could be playing a part in that. So get your levels measured. That's the one thing I would say is find out what your vitamin D level is, because then you can monitor it, right? So then you can start supplementing properly. Now the government will tell you that you need like 600 IUs a day, right? Vitamin D is measured in IUs, international units. It's the only one that I know that is measured like that. And 600 is nowhere near enough, not even for kiddos. Most professionals that you'll talk to today will say you need anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 IUs on a daily basis. Now to figure out what you specifically need, you need to measure where you're at. And if you're low, taking 5,000 to 7,000 is really a good place to start. If you're really, really low, sometimes medical doctors will tell you to take these giant mega doses of vitamin D. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. I'm just saying I don't see how that's beneficial when you're overdosing your body or mega dosing your body versus consistent over the course of time, regular dosing. I think that would be more effective for our bodies in terms of getting that vitamin D levels up. So if you're in those teens and you want to supplement, if you're in 20s, 30s, definitely we need to be supplementing. Even those of us who have a little bit higher, like I've been supplementing for years, and my vitamin D level is at, like, last time I measured, it's 45, and I'm going to have it remeasured because I've had the kit on my counter for a while now. I just need to remember to do it. Yeah, so once you know what your levels are and you can start supplementing, there are a number of different forms of vitamin D that you can take. You can take a pill form or a liquid form. I'm sure there's probably gummies out there. I mean, there's lots of different things. The one that I recommend is a liquid form. It's suspended in MCT oil, which is a really good oil for your brain. And it's not hard. I mean, my kids are like birds. When I have the vitamin D bottle, it's a dropper. They just open their mouths. I drop a drop or two in, and we go on with our days. Doesn't taste like anything. Super easy to supplement with. Vitamin D is also pretty economical too in terms of supplementation. It's not typically very expensive. The bottles that I sell in my office, even if you were supplementing with 5,000 to 7,000 IUs on a daily basis, which is only 5 to 7 drops because each drop is its 1,000 IUs, that bottle could last you months, and I think it's like $35. So really economical. And kids can benefit from vitamin D supplementation as well. So the best way to find out, though, like I said, is to measure your vitamin D in your blood with a blood test, supplement for a while, and then retest. Find out how effective your supplement that you've been taking is. You can also find out how good your body is at converting this stuff, right? Because sometimes, like myself, like I have a genetic SNP is what it's called. It's a little problem in my genes. So my genes don't always like to convert that vitamin D that I'm supplementing with into the usable form in my body. So it takes me longer to be able to get that vitamin D level up. Now, also, with your vitamin D supplementation, I would recommend finding one that also has a mixture of K2 in it. So vitamin D3 and K2, if it's from somewhere like Orthomolecular, which is the one that I recommend, or even Zymogen has a really nice one. I've mentioned those two brands before. They're my go-to brands. They're going to have the correct ratios of the vitamin D to vitamin D3 to K2. And the other thing you want to make sure that you think about when you're supplementing vitamin D is taking some magnesium with it. Magnesium and vitamin D3 and K2, they all work kind of together. But specifically the vitamin D3 and the magnesium, find a magnesium from your local nutrition store, or if you've got a functional medicine provider or something of that nature that you go to, ask them for the recommendation for magnesium as well. But those two things together work really, really well. So yeah, that's my little lesson on vitamin D3 today. If you've got questions, leave them down below in the comments. If you want to hear anything else about vitamin D or any other vitamins or minerals or supplements, let me know as well. But thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the support. Follow along, like this one, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned because we have new videos coming out every Monday and Thursday.